Hi, beautiful teachers, and welcome to this Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. This is the weekly YouTube show for you. If you're a music teacher who wants to teach more creatively, find out about the latest goings on in the industry, and get your weekly dose of pedagogy and business training. If you're brand new here, a huge warm welcome. Please do chime in the chat. Let us know you're here. We love to hear from you, and we never bite. We are a super friendly community, so do say hi to us. And if you are new, then we might not have met yet. So my name is Nicola Canton, and I'm a piano teacher over in Dublin in Ireland, and I run the Colourful Keys blog, the Vibrant Music Teaching podcast, this YouTube channel, and a membership called Vibrant Music Teaching, where I help teachers to teach more creatively, enjoy the business side of their business, and have fun all around while doing all of it more effectively. Sounds like the dream, right? That is the balance that we aim to work towards here. Every week on this show, we go through the latest news and goings on and catch up with each other and hang out as a community, and we also dive into a special topic. Today's special topic is how to stop your students from quitting. Because we all know that no matter how difficult or easy it was to get your students, it's much easier to keep the ones you have than to keep replacing them. Filling a timetable is no joke, especially if you've got a full week of like 30, 40 kids to fill. Even if you just have a select group of 3, 5 students, you want to keep the ones you have so that you don't have that turnover in your business, and so that you make more consistent income, and so that you have a chance of creating lifelong musicians. Because if they don't stay in your studio, we all know a year's not going to do it, right? It's not going to keep you playing piano, in most cases, for the rest of your life. So that's our special topic of today. But before we get there, we're going to get to the news. And before we do that, let me fill you in on the last segment of this show, which is our question and answer session. So if you have a question about anything, you can ask me anything at all by typing the word question and then your question. Please put question at the start of it, because there's a lot of chat going on, which is awesome, and I love that we get to hang out. But since we do that and we chat with each other, I might miss a question, and I don't want to do that. So if you type the word question at the start of it, that's perfect, because it means I can search for it later and make sure all of your questions get answered each and every week in our last section, which is the Ask Me Anything section. But before we get to any of that, we're going to dive into the latest news and goings on. Here we go. Alrighty. So there's been a lot on this week. I feel like I have so much news to share with you guys. The first thing I want to share with you, in case you haven't seen it, is that we have an opening at Vibrant Music. We are actually currently looking for a marketing manager. And so if you have experience in marketing, if you know someone who has experience in marketing and is also a music teacher, it's really important that they're both of those things, experience in marketing and they teach music. We're not entirely a team of music teachers, but we are like 80% music teachers, and it makes a huge difference to what we put out there and the quality of the content we produce, that everyone is both an expert in music and teaching and their specialty. Right? Which means that we have to do some hunting to find the right people, but it is totally worth it. So if you know someone this might suit, please send them the details. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the site. Where are we? There we are. So it is colourfulkeys.ie/jobs, and that will show you the current vacancies. Like I say, we're looking for a role, our marketing manager at the moment. And if they go there, they can read the full description and see whether it's right for them. So that's colourfulkeys.ie/jobs. If you have anyone to pass it on to, I would be thrilled to have a look at their application and to see if there might be a good fit for our team. Next piece of news is on me. Oh my gosh. So this is my next piece of news. We've got some new merch. Feels weird, showing you my chest. Anyway, we've got some new merch, And yeah, there's some fun stuff. So I'm going to give you a little peek inside the site. You can get straight to our merch store by going to vmt.rocks. Yeah, like rocks instead of a .com, it's .rocks. vmt.rocks, or just go to the Colourful Key store and you can find it if that's easier for you. So if you go to vmt.rocks, this is what you're going to see. And we have some new stuff. So I've sorted this by the newest things so that you can see all the latest and greatest. So I've uploaded our punny composers, and there's 2 different pages of these. Let's open them up first. So these are stickers, and they're, I mean, I know not everyone loves a pun, right? You might roll your eyes at them, but I know there are also plenty of people out there, and especially in this community, who are like me and just think puns are the greatest thing on earth. So we have things like tremendousenless. Tremendousendos. That's hard to say, but it makes sense in text. You're amazing. Yeah, I'm hilarious, I know. But they're fun ways to bring composers to your students and a fun alternative, especially for that extra special sticker occasion. And to fill in the space, make use of all the space, we have some accidentals, always useful, and dynamics. And a specific compliment about a tempo there. So there's 2 options of the punny stickers. Then we have some new t-shirts. So I'm wearing one of them. I'm wearing this one. So let's start there. This is a Find Your Balance t-shirt. It has the flamingo. All of these are in the same t-shirt fabric as our other ones, if you are familiar with those, which is like super soft. I love wearing these. They're like my favorite t-shirts, and I'm proud to be able to say that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put them out there. So yeah, they're all super duper soft in kind of a relaxed, slightly fitted style. And different colors and options available. This is the one I'm wearing, which is called Mauve in our system. Like, that's based on the t-shirt manufacturer. I disagree with this being mauve, but I do like the color. So there you go. Then we have... oh yeah, should have come back. So there's 2 other new t-shirts, which are this one, which no one has really seen this design yet. The balance one is on other things, but this is brand new, which is keep playing, keep learning. It's a new motto I'm testing out, or that, yeah, I live by and have realized that I'm living by. Keep playing, keep learning. Who agrees with that? So that's our new one. Again, lots of colors available there. And then we've got, I think this is my current favorite because I'm in love with Steve. I'll show you Steve in a second when we come back on camera. But this is Steve, my Beanie Baby lobster, making a heart, and it says just one thing. And Steve is now available on the t-shirt, on the water bottle, which is a really nice one, by the way. It's not, yeah, it's not gonna get smelly. Has anyone ever had a weird smelly water bottle? That was so bizarre. Anyway, so it's a good quality water bottle, especially if you're travel teaching. That could be a fun option. Got a new Find Your Balance mug, and Steve is on a sticker on his own as well. If you just want a little bit of Steve, say if you're ordering a t-shirt but you're like, oh, I need the Steve heart, you could order the sticker and you could stick it on a water bottle that you already have. And then this one, I posted about this on Instagram the other day because I think this is maybe the most of a departure. It's probably not for most people, but I don't usually wear caps, so this is, I wasn't sure if it was going to work out, but I really like it, and I actually think it suited me okay. I'm not normally a cap person, but I know many people are. And I just had this feeling that a flamingo doing Warrior 3 pose from yoga, if you're not familiar, it just means leaning forward, one leg up behind you. A flamingo doing Warrior 3, I just thought would be great. I don't know why or wherefore, which means the same thing, but I just thought it would be great. So that one is available in black and stone, which is the one on my Instagram if you want to go look at that, and pink. Because who doesn't love a lovely baby pink cap. Okay, and then there's Steve, as I already mentioned, and the new cup. And then these ones are relatively new, the colorways in here. So we got a black version of this, black and white. Vibrant music should be vibrant tea. We've new colors in the Fortissimo version of that tea, which just means the bold colorway. And then we have a new magic mug. This one, sorry, the Find Your Balance one. This version of Steve is still pretty new as well. And the others have been around a little bit longer. There's Steve! My gosh, I just love him making that heart. And he's going to do it for you now on camera. Here we come. Back to me. Let's get Steve out of the backdrop. Into the foreground. Here he comes. He could just about. Okay, my digital version of Steve has a more perfect heart, but Steve's is the real deal. Okay, so that's our new merch. Just something fun and exciting, and if you feel like a little bit of a pick-me-up, it might be a fun treat for yourself. Another fun treat for yourself, though, was released here on the YouTube channel just now. Like, just now. None of you have seen it, unless you nipped away from this video and went to watch it. Okay. It's about these, something cool that could be a fun gift idea that is not from the VNT merch store. It's something fun and surprising. And you can watch that video after you watch this one. Okay? It's called A Fun Gift Idea for a Music Teacher Friend. Look it up. Bit of a silly, funny video for you. It's only a few minutes long. And it might just brighten up your little day. Now, the other news, the other stuff I've been working on. So I've been updating the merch store. I've been in such a games creation mode lately, just doing loads and loads of development on new games idea for the rest of the year and stuff like that. Not the whole rest of the year, but spaced out throughout the year. And looking for our marketing manager and excited to bring them on board and doing the merch store. We also released a bunch of stuff though. So here we go. We had last week on the podcast, we had overcoming the Friday disadvantage, which is a weird one. I'm not going to lie to you. And I said that in the email for those who are subscribed to the emails. It's an odd one, but I actually think it's really important, not just because of that message, the Friday disadvantage thing, and read it or listen to the podcast if you're curious, but not just because of that, but because of the perspective and the detail of looking at something specific like that. Yeah. So it's about that kind of analysis rather than about that specific thing, although that I think is a bigger deal than we realize as well. And then here on the YouTube channel, we had a release of some ear training games ideas. If you want to go check that out, that was released last Thursday. We updated our post on creating a studio budget because this is a really important time of year for that. So you can see that on the Colourful Keys blog. And then, oh yeah, okay, so two more things. We had our member huddles. Lisa was there for one of them. Maybe some others in the chat were also there. So we had a member huddle on Friday and then a member huddle again today. And that's really fun for me because that's where our Vibrant Music Teaching members can come on together and go into small breakout rooms, so small group rooms on Zoom, where you get to chat with fellow teachers about specific topics and get their feedback on things. And it's a new format for us in 2021, and we're loving it, aren't we? Members can chime in who have been to one and let me know. It's a new thing, and it's been an experiment, as a lot of things are that I do for members, because we're always trying to try new things. And it's been going great, which is wonderful to see. And yeah, member huddles. Last thing is a big thing. It's May. Did you know it's May? I feel like every month this year, towards the end of the month, I've been on a walk with my husband and I've turned to him and gone, it's going to be X month. And he's just like, yep. I'm like, but it's already going to be March or May or April. I've done it with every month. And he's like, yep, time's going quickly. And I'm flabbergasted. I'm genuinely like, what? But how? How is this happening? Anyway, so it's May. It's a third of the way through the year. A third. And to sweeten the pot, sorry for that. I feel like that's a bit of a negative ramble. But to sweeten the pot, of course, it's a new month, which means there's new games. So that's the last bit of news I'm going to share with you before we dive into our main topic, is our latest games. You ready to have a look? Alrighty. Games, games, games. Here they come. So, here are our latest games inside Vibrant Music. And if you aren't a member and you haven't been in here before, welcome. This is the Inside Scoop. So I'm going to start. Let's go roughly in order of, whatever. Let's start here. I was going to say in order of difficulty, but that doesn't really work for some of them. Pinpointers. Okay, this was born out. A lot of games are inspired by members or members of Vibrant Music team who come to me and say, I have this student, this problem, blah, blah, blah. This one is one that I've seen with my students this year. The newer students who started this year or the end of last year even, who've been learning online a lot. And this is probably my weakness as a teacher, I'll always admit that, but I feel like I've neglected finger numbers and piano keys. And I can't believe I'm even saying that because I rabbit on about them all the time and teaching them so much. But in the online world, whoops. It's not that I didn't teach them, it's that I didn't renew and review them thoroughly enough with my students, some of my students, and I'm noticing the difference. And I don't know if it's that they needed more review online or if I just felt like I was doing more than I was in the online format. But anyway, lesson learned, and I felt like I needed a new game to bring these two things together. So this is Pinpointers, and of course it has an online version for those working online at the moment in Google Slides, and you can watch your tutorial of how to do that, of course. But this is a game to get students quickly thinking about this finger on this key. It's really that simple. No notes on the staff, no name, like it's not about analysis, it's about quick thinking, come up with the note, put the finger on the key. Oh, Teresa, you're using it today. That's awesome. I hope you love it. Okay, so that is Pinpointers. Now let's go back and let's look at the next one. This is Machu Picchu Movers, and this is going to be part of a little series. So inside scoop for you guys who are watching here is that I am putting together this sort of series where we visit various landmarks, because I just think it's a fun journey around the world, and I guess I'm inspired by the lack of travel at the moment, but I think even outside of the COVID times, this is a fun experience for students to get a little taste for different parts of the world and maybe spark some conversations or thoughts around that, or just some awareness. So I started at Machu Picchu because it's somewhere that I've been, and I thought it was a fun place to start. We'll all go to Peru. I mean, not the furthest I can get away from home, but pretty far, right? So we're going to Machu Picchu to work on rhythm, and you go from the train tracks to the path. Those who've been there might know there's this like really slow train you get up to the top, or you can take like a 1.5 full day, a 2 day, something like that trek. It's like not a really big trek, but it's an undertaking, right? It's not something where you just stroll up the mountain. So yeah, that's Machu Picchu Movers, and it's a fun rhythm exploration as well as being a journey down to Peru. And then we have Bass Blossoms. Something teachers often ask me about is that extra review of bass. And I went with the Cherry Blossoms. They're out this time of year, but of course it doesn't have to be a seasonal game at all. You can explore Cherry Blossoms at any time of the year. Nice simple one. And bonus for those who are printing right now, this is one of the ones where you don't need a bunch of cards. Just need to print the game board and that's it. So it's a low print option. Then we have our latest installment of Reading Railroad. That is level 5, and this is the second last level of these reading cards. These are sight reading cards with backing tracks. They're really wonderful for using in online and in-person lessons. As you can see there, they're just 4 bars each, but they do increase in difficulty quite a bit through the various levels. And by the time they get to level 5, this is serious, guys. Maybe try reading some of them yourself. And if you haven't tried the Reading Railroad series in general, you're going to be pretty impressed by where they're getting up to by this level, right? They're going to step up 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time they get to here, they're reading some pretty intricate stuff in each hand, and obviously level 6 is going to go even further. That's going to be a really good challenge for many students and possibly some teachers. So they all come with those backing tracks so that students have to keep going. That's the whole point. You have to keep going. You can't go back. You can't fix things. You have to do your best in the moment. And then last but definitely not least, here's my friend, the kitsune. And I wanted to release this at this time of year because it is such a good one for those of us in this hemisphere coming up towards the end of the academic year. Because it's all about reflection. Sometimes we need to look back to motivate us to go forward. And the kitsune helps us do that with different prompts, such as looking back at old pieces we've completed, etc., etc. There's loads of different ideas there, 9 different prompts to think about where we've come from and how we put in the work to get there. And it's part of our Gritty Critters series that helps students stay motivated, develop their growth mindset, and stick with things long term, which is also our topic of today, isn't it? So, are we ready to dive in? Let's get into our main topic, all about students quitting and how we can stop them. It is so important for us as music teachers to keep our students in lessons. If our students move on, if they quit the studio, yeah, it's not the end of the world. Some students are going to quit. But the more students that do, the less chance we have to create lifelong musicians out of our students. The less chance we have to give them those wonderful musical experiences that inspire them to keep making music for their entire lives. It also means that your business is way less efficient because it costs you more, even if it's not in money, it's in time and onboarding and everything else and training the new family. It costs so much more to bring on a new student than it does to just keep one you already have. And we all know that it's wonderful to get new students and it's fun to develop that relationship in the beginning. But we get so much satisfaction from those students who continue with us for a long time, and they've been with us from age 13 up to age 20, as one of mine has right now. So it's more motivating for us to be able to continue with those students long term. It's a better business move, and it means that they get more out of the experience, because we all know that you can't learn piano in a year. It just doesn't happen. It takes a lot longer than people think. So, let's dive into some of the reasons that students quit lessons, and then we're going to cover some of the ways we can work against those things, that we can undo some of those common issues that come up that cause students to leave. And as I go through these 5 things that are broad reasons why I believe students quit lessons, I want you to call me out if you think I missed one. Because I believe most quitters, I don't like that term, but most departers from a studio fit into one of these categories in terms of the reason, or several of them altogether. Let me know if you think there's a reason that doesn't fit one of these things. So the first one is the parent's view of the progress. What do I mean by that? These are the students who quit because the parent doesn't see the student moving forward. These might be the parents who are asking you for exams or for specific recital pieces or other measures of progress that are often way beyond the student's level and pretty unreasonable from our perspective. But the reason the parent is asking for that is because they're not seeing the progress that's happening. Because it's really hard for an outsider to see that. They don't know how long it takes to be able to read intervals up to a fifth, or identify a few landmark notes, or play with a beautiful legato, or do any of the things that we're developing in our students. Most people, I would say almost all people, underestimate from the outside how long the beginning stages of study take. People know that studying a music instrument is not a quick fix situation. They know it takes time. But I think they do underestimate how long we stay in those beginner sounding stages in terms of the music we're making and the look of the music on the score. That takes a long time. So many students end up quitting because the parent can't see that their investment is paying off and that the student is making progress. Let me know if you've ever seen that in your studio. The second reason I think students quit is because the student isn't seeing the progress. This is more for older students perhaps, but it definitely can contribute from students who are younger asking their parents to quit lessons. This is where the student doesn't see that they've gotten anywhere, and they're not seeing that they're moving forward. And it can be harder as students move forward up levels to help them to see that they are moving forward. So when a student doesn't feel like they're getting anywhere, they might just quit. Wouldn't you? If you weren't getting anywhere? The third reason is relevance. Students who don't feel that what they're learning is relevant to them are going to quit. And again, this accelerates the older students are. So what do I mean by relevant? Well, relevant to them and their specific goals. So if a student feels that you're not helping to move them towards their goals, that you're doing things that are just your standard bucket, your standard path, that you're just following some formula and it's not about them and what they want, which might be something off the beaten path, they might quit. They also might quit because they don't feel that the music is relevant, and they might not even be able to articulate that that's what's happening. But they just aren't inspired by the music because they don't feel that it's relevant to them. It doesn't sound in a palette that they're used to. And while we have a great opportunity to expose students to classical music, and I'm not saying we shouldn't teach it, we do have to let students learn music that is relevant to them, that they see around them in the world, that they hear in their environment, and that just feels part of their culture, part of their palette, right? So when students don't feel that, they might quit. The fourth reason is a bit of a funny one for many of you maybe. Novelty. Have you thought about students quitting because of a lack of novelty? These are those students who quit because basically, and I didn't want to put this word on screen because it seems harsh, they're bored. They're quitting because of boredom. And we can fall into a trap with this one because they might have liked their beginning lessons and they were doing so well and nothing's changed. So why are they suddenly not satisfied? Well, they're not satisfied because nothing changed. There's no novelty. It doesn't feel fresh to them anymore. They feel like they're done with it. There's no novelty. And then the last one, this is huge. Anticipation. They don't have things to get excited for. They don't have things to look forward to. They don't see what's on the horizon that's, novel or different or just something they've been working towards for a long time. It's just more of the same, or they just don't know what's coming up. They don't know where they're going and when they're going to get there. So they quit. So those are my 5 reasons. Let me know if you have a reason for me that doesn't fit one of these. And I'm going to start by addressing one that I think you might come up with. So I'm going to try and anticipate the reason that you might come up with immediately. Some of you might say, no, the primary reason my students quit is because they're overscheduled. I'm sorry, that's not the reason they quit. It is a contributing factor in some things, but if they had all of these things, if they were anticipating things that were coming up that were really fun, if they found their lessons novel and fun and interesting, if they seemed relevant to them and what they want to learn, if they can see that they're making progress and their parents can see that they're making progress, they would prioritize piano over the other thing. I mean, unless we're talking about some Olympic swimmer trek, they're going to prioritize piano. It's not the overscheduling that did it. It's one of these things that causes them to see themselves as overscheduled, and piano is the thing I'm going to cut. So maybe that was one you were going to come up to. Maybe not. Oh, Jana, isn't that true? COVID has been the worst for anticipation. We'd have to come up with those events. And I know it feels tough that the onus is on us. And it feels like I just don't want to do it. And I have felt that too, right? You're not alone in that. Just like, but I just can't. And yes, sometimes you just can't. But every so often we do have to come up with those events so that our students have things to come up with. And it doesn't have to be some huge thing, okay? I'm not saying you have to learn all the software and all the things and it has to be fresh every time. You can come up with simple things that are actually really fun and motivating and something to look forward to. Like at the moment for us, it's our composing project, right? We've been composing together and our students here at Colourful Keys, they're looking forward to getting that book. That's something they're anticipating that's different, it's fresh, and they know it's coming up. As well as a concert, actually, for us at this time of year. Great thoughts coming in here. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to reverse this. All of this mess is going to go away. How about that? We want to get it off the screen. And we're going to do that by coming up with ways to have things to combat these issues, right? So let's do it in reverse. Let's start with anticipation. What are some ways, and I'd love some brainstorming from you guys too, what are some ways that we can have that anticipation for students? I just mentioned one of them. Doing a composing project where you produce a finished book or even a SoundCloud page or any other finished product at the end of it, or just a printed out copy of their composition, where they're looking forward to it being finished. That's a short to medium term project. It definitely contributes towards that anticipation. And you can build into that students looking forward to the next year and the year after that and the year after that. If you're like me and you do a composing project every year, your students know that there's going to be a different theme next year, different way to collaborate with other people in the studio, and they're going to get a new experience out of that, and they're looking forward to what that's going to be and how their own composing skills are going to develop to next year, right? We're not doing composing all year, all the time in this kind of detailed way. We do it once a year and it's a big event for them. A concert is another thing that students can definitely look forward to. You can't do an in-person concert. That doesn't mean you can't do one. You can do various different video versions, and we have ideas on the channel in another video that I did about that. So there's no excuse. You really can do it in a very low-tech way. What else can we look forward to? What else can we have our students look forward to? One thing that Jana, who's in the chat right now, does in her studio, I believe, is having students listen to a list of pieces that every student should know about, as in, like, not that they're going to have to learn these things, but, you know, the favorites and the ones that they might learn someday. Having students become familiar with those is huge. So, and I would even suggest, and possibly Jana does this, that there's several at different levels along the way. So it's not that they're all, you know, the full level 10 Jane McGrath level. They can be steps along the way. You know, you can have all the standards, you know what I mean. All the ones we come across, like the arabesque from Bergmüller is in there, and various different ones that students over and over get excited to learn. And it doesn't have to be all classical. It could be a mixture. It could be studio favorites that you know your students again and again want to learn. Or it can be pop songs that are way beyond their abilities. Like if they are dying to learn Bohemian Rhapsody and they're just nowhere near having a convincing enough harmony for that. They don't have the ability to play enough of the chords, even in an arrangement, to make it convincing. Well, that's something they can be anticipating and working towards, but only if you have those conversations and develop those listening lists with them. So if we give our students something to anticipate, something to look towards, something to see where they're going to, we can remove that objection, and that's one less reason why they might quit. What about novelty? What can we do to make our lessons more novel? Something I did last year in online lessons was called the surprise starters, and members can find all of these in the video library, the training library. And there are 12 of them in total. They're just fun little ways to start the lesson. But you can use that idea even beyond those 12, right? So that was 12. That was a set of 12 that I did as a special to keep us all engaged in lessons ourselves and have some fun at the end of the last academic year. You can use those. You can recycle them as many times as you want, but you can also incorporate all sorts of other little warm-ups that your students in the first 5 minutes of lesson, they don't know what's coming. You can also incorporate games throughout your lessons and keep switching up the lesson pace. Now, a caveat here is that you do need to keep some sense of lesson routine. That is useful for your students, especially the younger ones. So I'm not saying make it totally haphazard and all over the place and they don't know what's going to happen, but you can add those little sparkles of novelty in that students know it's not same old, same old. They're not going to arrive and do their scales and play their practice pieces and start on a new piece and leave. That can get old pretty fast, can't it? Do we all remember how old that got? Right. So those are a few ways to keep things novel within lessons. You can also run different types of events like we've already talked about in our anticipation section. And you can make things more novel by mixing in some different lesson formats. So in my studio, we do mostly buddy lessons, which are lessons where the middle section is overlapping between two students. So I have one student for half an hour, then I have that student and a new student for a middle half an hour, and then I have a solo time with the second student. So I'll explain that better. So Anna comes along at 4:30. At 5, Ben comes, and Anna and Ben are together, 5 to 5:30. And then 5:30 to 6 is just Ben. So it's overlapping in the middle, and you can do different lengths of that, and I've talked about it extensively here on YouTube and on the blog. But that is one way where things do stay that bit more novel because they don't know what the other student is going to do or what they're going to be like, or maybe they're going to have a different buddy next year, or they'll have the same one and they'll get to develop that relationship. And we do all sorts of different things during that time. But we also do group workshops, and I actually doubled down on that this year. And I now do 12 workshops for each student. So I have different age ranges for my group workshops, and each student has the opportunity to attend up to 12 a year. They're very much not quite drop in, but register for what you want and don't come to the others. That's fine. It's not like a weekly schedule. Well, you can do it that way as well, but it does keep that little bit of magic in the week where if they're coming along to one of those, something different, it gives them a new perspective on things, they do different things, and they meet different faces as well. So those are a few ideas for novelty. Let me know yours, and let's banish that off the board. We've got 3 left. Relevance. How can we make our lessons relevant to students? Well, I talked about this as having 2 sides. There's the them learning relevant music, and there's the you paying attention to their goals side. So the relevant music side, yes, it is about asking them what they want to learn. But it's also sometimes about giving them choices they don't know they want. What do I mean by that? When a student gets to a certain level, for me, let's say they're in Piano Safari, which is one of my favorite methods. They get to level 3 in Piano Safari, or for an older student, level 2, I'm going to send them a list of links to different books at that level, which is like late beginner. different solo books, which are just repertoire. They're not method books. They're things from Piano Pronto or from June Armstrong, who we had on the show last week, or from many other sources. And I send them that link of all books at their level, maybe 8 to 10 books, all of them with web link where they can listen to it. So that could be to YouTube playlist, but it could also be on their site. Many composers have the music on their site now. So they can go listen to a few pieces from each book and pick their favorite book. That means that they get to seek out the music that feels relevant to them, or that feels novel and that they want to learn for fun. It's their choice, but it means that even the students who don't come to you saying, I want to learn JLS, they can still pick out music that's relevant, and they'll hone that over time, even if they're reticent to tell you up front who they like or what they want to learn, or if they just don't know because they're not that into listening to music by themselves yet. Younger students often aren't. So that's one side. That's the relevant music piece. Then we've got the gold. And that is just about asking. You have to ask them. You have to ask them or their parents if they're much younger. But as they grow up, start to ask them. And this doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't even have to be a formal process. But you have to make sure to check in with your students. I'd say a minimum of twice a year where you have a conversation with them that says, where is it that you want to head with lessons? What are you picturing yourself doing in the future with this? And it can be in an age-appropriate way, like you wouldn't say it like that to a little kid. But where are we going? And what are we not doing right now that you would love to do? I had this conversation with one of my students last year, and she's meandered in different directions, and at the end of last year she said, I really want to properly start learning jazz. Great. So we started learning improv, and before that she wasn't really into improv at all, but we started learning improv. She's using the That's Jazz books by Bradley Sowash, and she's loving them, and she's really doing great with that. And I wouldn't know that if I didn't ask, because a 12, 13-year-old is just not, some will, but most of them do not have enough advocacy for themselves to come to you and say, I want to learn jazz out of the blue. They need that opening. So if you provide those openings and you give enough choice in repertoire, you're going to get rid of that relevance issue. We're down to 2. Student view and parent view. Okay, student view. This is about a student seeing their progress. And one of the best antidotes for this is something I just showed you called Kitsune questions. And you can take those questions and that general idea and apply it without doing the full game if that's not always relevant or always the best fit. It's about getting your student to look back at their old books and see where they've come from. And it's about, in the shorter term, pointing stuff out. If your student plays with a beautiful curved hand shape for the first time, or the first time without you reminding them, point that out to them. Say, wow, that is the first time that you've done that without me saying anything. You've clearly worked really hard on it this week. Congratulations, you must be so proud of yourself. Actually say it and point out what has happened, because they're not going to have that self-awareness to know that they've never done that and to retain it. And if you get that little bit of a conversation going about it and you do that regularly, it's really going to help that to retain that in the longer term. And then over the longer term, it's those questions like, let's go back to your old book, or remember when this was hard for you and now it's so much better or so much easier for you, or those kinds of things. And seeing where you're going as well. That anticipation fits into that. But the bigger problem for many of us was the last one. The parent view. The parents not seeing the progress. And this can be tough because we don't always see the parents and we don't get to have those conversations with them in a regular basis the way we do with our students. So I believe in having a formal process for this. Now, that doesn't mean the format of it has to be formal. That's a lot of form, isn't it? It doesn't mean that the format has to be formal, though. So I send out progress updates to my parents twice a year. And we do that on a regular schedule. And I actually show how to set this up, how to set up tasks to remind you to do these kinds of processes in our new Smooth Studio Systems course, which is coming out later this month. But the basic principle is to actually formalize this process so that you do it on a regular basis. Because I don't know about you, but if I just tell myself, oh, every so often I'm going to email and check in with the parents, that's just not good enough for me, because I might do it with 95% of the parents 95% of the time. But that one parent I miss, and that one time I miss them, that could be the difference with that child continuing with music and not. That's just not okay with me. So I want it to be a regular process. And I do simple progress update reports. I used to do them through just a shared Google Doc. And then this year we're experimenting with putting it in the lesson notes section in my music staff, because one of my goals this year, and I told parents this, was I want you to only have 2 logins for piano, and I don't want to burden you with any more than that. There's one for students and there's one for teachers. So Tanara is the student login. That's where everything is for them. That's my goal. And my music staff is the parent login, and that's where everything is for you. You schedule your group workshops, you find information, you get everything there. That's the goal. So the progress updates now are in there. So I just, on the date when that's going to happen, I put it in the lesson update and do that for all the students at the same time. And it's just a few lines on a few different topics. And that way parents know what students are doing and where they're up to, and they have the previous ones to refer to as well. And they can just see that, not just the measure of progress, that's not it. They can see that you are paying attention to where the student is going. So even when things don't happen, they can see that they can let go of the reins. Many parents are used to being the ones to push things for their kids, because in school or elsewhere, sometimes these things aren't happening without them coming and pushing for it. And I know we can talk about stereotypical pushy parents, but sometimes that is the truth. Their kids are not getting the things that they need and the attention that they need without the parent making sure it happens. And they're used to that. And they need to know that we've got it. We are making sure that their child is cared for and that they're making progress and that we have their best musical interests at heart, and we're going to get them there, even when it's not going fast in one particular area. So when you stay involved with parents and up to date on their concerns and have those regular progress check-ins, honestly, this one I have completely alleviated as a reason in the last several years, is the parents seeing the progress, because they always do. And they know that we do too. So they're all gone. That doesn't mean no students are ever going to quit your studio, but you can seriously reduce the likelihood that they will if you address those 5 issues. And that's what I've done in my studio, and that's why we have a pretty incredible retention rate. I mean, short of students actually moving away, it's very rare someone quits. Which is why we have this huge waiting list of people clamoring to get in, because no one leaves and we don't have any more capacity. That's a whole other issue though. Address those 5 things, get them under control, and know that it's going to be an ongoing balance and something you're going to keep trying to improve again and again forever. But you will see results if you address those 5 things. So keep adding your thoughts on that. I've been keeping an eye on the chat the whole way through talking about those issues. And keep adding your general questions. We're going to do our web reviews next. So let's review what we're looking for in those. Here's our 6-part list. in a studio website, or honestly, in most marketing materials, we're looking for there's enough text that it actually tells us what's what so that Google can index it and people can read it. We're looking for clear calls to action, meaning that there's buttons and things telling us what to do when we arrive on the site. We're looking for consistency in branding. There's just a couple of colors and a couple of fonts. We're looking for it to showcase the unique teacher and what they're all about, not just a generic. Real photos of them to help further that point, and a simple menu structure without too many links up there. Okay, so let's dive into the first one. This is Brooke's Music Studio. Chat, you can let me know your thoughts as we go through here, and I'll add mine. So my first thought when I arrive here is that it's really narrow. And I know we're on a big screen, but I definitely think you can use some more real estate here. So if you go to my website, Colourful Keys for reference, or Vibrant Music, either one, you'll see that we use quite a lot more of the screen than this. We don't use the full width always on every screen size, but we do use more space than this. So you can definitely broaden this, and I would encourage you to do that. I would also remove this background or make it a plain color. Those kinds of lines that are close together, if you don't have eyes that are bothered by it, I know you don't see it, but if you have eyes like mine, trust me, it's making me dizzy a little bit. So yeah, we want to make that experience nice for everyone with every kind of eye. Okay, we have this lovely baby photo here. I'm not sure about it just because unless you're actually teaching babies at the piano, it's not the most relevant. But I really like the tone of this right here. I just love teaching. Yeah, that's really nice because it's written personally, it's in your voice. And then we've got some bullet points. And we've got enough text, which is rarer than you would think. In doing these reviews, I would have thought us teachers would have rambled. Not that this person is, and not that any of you would. But yeah, the stereotype is that we talk too much, right? So you would expect us to do that on a website. But I like that there's enough text here. I think it's really good, and it's written in a nice style. Registration, about me. We need a photo of you on the About Me page, but otherwise it looks great. Resources, I'm not sure what this is going to be. Okay. If this is really for current students, I wouldn't put it in your menu. I'd just link them to it from another page and from emails you send to them rather than having it in the menu. Contact page is obviously very important. Blog. Okay, you've only got 4 posts here and they're not super frequent. I always caution people of having a blog if you're not going to keep up with it, because it honestly looks better to not have one than to have a few posts and them be quite a while ago. Yours aren't that long ago, so like I've seen much worse than that, but I would consider whether those could have just been posts without having a blog page on your site showing up. And then, yeah, this part is fine. That's just basically policies and stuff. So here are the things I'd recommend for you. First of all, can you get a more relevant photo for the homepage? Broaden the width and change the background. And put a photo of you on your About page as well. And then my last top recommendation here is a button or something telling me to get in touch with you or to register here on the homepage, because you're letting me decide whether I do it or not, and you should be telling me to do it with a big button. But congratulations on putting it together, and especially on the writing style. I think it's great. Our second website review today is Kimberly's Piano Studio. And so we arrive here, very different looking site. We see that she is using the full width here, but she's not using it in here. So that's a good example of what I was talking about before. where the menu is not going all the way to the edge because that could be problematic, but you're using the full width otherwise. We've got what we call a hero image here of a kid at the piano. Now it is a stock image, which isn't always my favorite, but it's actually a pretty good one. And the kid looks like they're having a great time. Maybe it's a real image. Sorry, I shouldn't assume. But if I'm questioning it, that means it's fine. The stock images I don't like are the ones where I know straight off the bat that it definitely is a stock. With this, I'm like, is it your studio? Is it not? I don't really care. The yellow here and the yellow here, though, is gorgeous, and it brings a whole look to the site. And I love the cohesiveness of the yellow. So you've got it on the button, you've got it in her t-shirt, you've got it on the notebook, and in the menu. Everyone watching, this is a great example of that cohesiveness that I always talk about, right? The consistency. You just pick a few colors, a few fonts, and put them everywhere, and you will instantly look more modern and more put together. Okay, we've got music lessons here, different types. That's great. And some testimonials, wonderful. Okay, I would put a bit more text on this page, Kimberly. That's basically the only change I would make, though, so well done. Just what Donald Miller of Storybrand fame, he's a marketing guy, what he would call the junk drawer, which sounds a bit negative, but it's really just everything else you would want to tell parents. You put it at the bottom of the page. Maybe they don't scroll down to it, but if they do, they'll read it and that'll be great. If they don't, Google will see it and that'll be great too, right? Then we've got just 4 menu items, which I love. There are some menus, but that's fine. I would make that top link clickable, just because some people expect that. So if it says about, it should go to a general about page, and then which also has links to these other ones, rather than insisting that I click on one. So you could have a general about lessons page, and it summarizes all of these and links back to them again. Lovely photos here. Love this. Kimberly, well done. That delighted smile especially. And examples of your teaching. Yeah, I love all of this. So yeah, that's the main thing I want you to add is the junk drawer and the upper level link, which summarizes the other pages which are underneath, just for me to be able to click on that. But everything else is looking great, so congratulations. Alrighty, well, I'm just going to do a search for our questions today. And so I make sure I get to all of them. If you have a question and you haven't typed it in the chat yet, just type the word question and then your question. All right, and it could be about anything, stuff we talked about today, or anything, like where did I get my glasses? I don't care. You can ask me anything. Okay, Janine. How to communicate to parents and students how important practice is. Some get it, some seem to think lessons are like baseball practice. Okay, Janine, here's the thing, and it's not going to be your favorite answer. The best way to communicate this, the way that really works, is when you do it the very first time you meet them and consistently for several months after you first meet them. Now, with students who've been with you for a while, that's why it might not be your favorite answer, because they're already there. But let's put that aside for a second and resolve that going forward, we're going to have a meeting with the student and parent before they begin. We're not going to start with the first lesson. We're going to have a meeting with them and talk about those practice expectations and be very clear that piano is more fun when you practice every day, and that needs to happen. And then you work with them for the first several months, checking in, helping them establish the routine, letting them know that you are there to support them. And for members who are watching, you can get the email templates inside the library, and that will walk you through how you can onboard a parent in this way. So you're checking in and checking in and checking in, and it doesn't become, you didn't get your child to practice. It's actually you supporting them in developing that over time. Now, let's take that thing we put a pin in and bring it back in. The ones who are already not practicing and parents don't get it. You need to have a straight conversation with them. And you need to sometimes accept that they're not going to practice. So you start by trying to have that conversation with parents and being very clear that the practice needs to happen, and it's going to be more fun for them if all the things I said before, but you have to have it in a little bit of even pushier way with students who have already been there for a while walking that delicate balance, because you don't want to be preachy. And then you work with them again to establish that routine. Now, if that's not happening, I don't believe in giving up on students because they don't practice, and I don't believe in firing students or anything like that. If students just aren't practicing, I work very hard to accept them where they are, which is they have a parent who is not supporting them in practice. And that shouldn't mean that every week they put a frown on my face. So I have to work to develop lessons that meet them where they are, which is a child who doesn't practice. You can still have a great musical experience every week without practicing. You are not locked out of that room because you don't practice. Will you make as much progress? Will you achieve amazing feats of technical expertise? No, not until you practice. But in the meantime, you can still have a great musical experience and you can make progress. That was kind of a roundabout few different ways of answering your question, but I hope it helped, Janine. I have done some sessions on group workshops, Janine, but if there's a specific aspect, I would be happy to answer that for you as well. I would look up, though, first the previous Vibrant Music Teacher chats that we've done on this. So do a quick search for those music group workshops or something like that. And I did one about my group ones and one about how to do online buddy lessons as well. A lot of them are focused on the online slant, but at the moment, because that's where people are at in terms of groups anyway as well. Maggie. For various medical reasons, I'm not going back to face-to-face lessons yet, but I'm concerned that students will quit if I don't stop teaching online and go in person. Have they brought that up with you? Honestly, I think, and it depends based on country and everything. I know you're in the UK, Maggie, so I doubt the attitudes are that dissimilar to here, but maybe they are. But honestly, if I had a chronic condition, some reason, and I would just take the approach of being up front with parents. I can't do that until vaccine levels are at such and such, or whatever your parameters might be if you have them. Some kind of guidelines. I really appreciate you working with me at this time. Please know that I'm doing this, that, and the other to make online lessons in some ways even better than in person. I know we all miss each other. Thank you for bearing with me. Blah, blah, blah. Right? So, first of all, taking the attitude of thanking rather than apologizing is a great start for any conversation like this. And then just being upfront with them. This is the situation we're in. Almost everyone is going to be fine with that as long as you are providing a great lesson experience online, and you need to hold up that side of the bargain and work hard to make it great for them, right? And support them if they need help with the tech on their end to make that happen too. Gabrielle, have you had to downsize your studio, especially as you expanded into other areas of your career? I'm wanting to refocus on about 30 dedicated students who want longer lessons. Any tips? So, have I had to downsize? Not in any formal way, not in any structured way, and not a lot. But it's more something gradually. I have gone down a little by little, and I'm not aiming much lower than where I am now, but I will go down a tiny bit more next year in terms of teaching hours, but that's not so much actually the number of students, a little bit, but anyway, it's kind of a separate conversation. But I have gradually gone down, and that is mostly by students who quit, not replacing them, unless I really want to. And there are very few students who quit, but occasionally something comes up, an adult student has to change their career and the hours don't work or whatever, and I won't replace them. Now, if you need to do that in a bigger way, the first thing I would recommend you do is raise your prices, insist on the longer lessons, see what happens. And don't see what happens until next year. So let's say you raise your prices now. You send out, these are my fees for next year. I'm also no longer offering 30-minute lessons or whatever, if you currently are, Gabrielle. You send that out to them and you see if a few of them come back and quit, and it naturally happens. But you don't commit yet to not also removing some students. So you do that. Most likely the most dedicated ones, the ones that love you, will come back straight away and say, great, love 45-minute lessons, or I'd love to have more time with you, or whatever. You do that. Then if you still need to scale it back, you just have the conversation. You just say, I'm scaling back my hours. I'm afraid I can't find space for Kimberly anymore. That's just because we looked at Kimberly's site. But I can't find space for Kimberly anymore. Here are some local teachers who I've called up and they say they have space and I think they would be a great fit. Something like that. So, but I would start with just raising your fees, see if it happens naturally, Gabrielle. And the last one I think for today is Lee. I have a new piano family of a mom and child wanting a digital piano so the mom can use headphones and practice after the kids go to bed. What's your favorite brand and model? Okay, it all depends on budget, so that would be my first question back to the mom. Every time, Lee, is how much do you want to spend? But if they say, I really don't know what's the minimum I can spend and get a good quality instrument, it'll probably shock them. If they're buying new, it's going to be like €700-800. So it's like £500-600. No, you're not in the UK. Sorry. So like, yeah, but your prices are lower in the US. So I would say it's like $800-900. And what would I actually recommend in that range? There's a few. So I would go Roland FP, whatever number is fine. Yamaha P, whatever number is also fine. And then anything Kawai is basically fine because Kawai doesn't start at that really low crap level. They don't have any of those. So if you tell them to get a Kawai, the lowest level they're going to get is ES 110 and that's fine. So those would be my starter ones. If they're looking for if they have a bit more of a budget, Lee, and they're looking for something a bit better, then I would go with something, let's say they can spend about $2,000, a little bit under. I would be pushing for something like the Kawai Concert Artist series. The cheapest one of those that has the full piano action inside it is the CA49. I think they might have just changed that number, but it's basically that or the slightly newer generation of that. And that's what I have. That's, if you've seen my videos with the white digital in the background, that's that one. And I love that one. I really enjoy playing it. If they have way more money, then you can look for my upcoming review of the Kawai hybrid pianos, which are the Novus. Those are gorgeous. That's the best possible option, in my opinion, right now for using headphones with. But that's if they have a ton of money and they feel like throwing it at a piano, and maybe you can go to their house and visit and play it. It's gorgeous. I love it. That would be one option, but we're talking about up towards 10 at that stage. Yeah, hopefully that gives you a range of options. But at that lowest budget possible level, the lowest things I would really recommend are Yamaha P series, Roland FP series, and Kawai anything, because it starts at that ES 110 and those are pretty decent. Whatever they're getting though, if it is at that low level, encourage them, highly recommend to them that they get the furniture stand and pedal unit. It costs more, obviously, and people are often shocked by how much that adds to the price, but it is 100,000% worth it. And we all know that from playing on one of these. That's an X stand, by the way. I use it for standing for some online lesson demonstrations. It is not suitable as a practice instrument. And it rocks. That's what I was trying to demonstrate there in the bad sense of the word. Okay, Lee, I hope that was helpful. Everyone, thank you for joining me for this extra long session. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. It's been great to hang out with you. as always, and I will see you back here. No, wait, I have one last thing to do before we get going. In the chat or in the comments, if you're watching this, I would love to hear from you who you want to see on the show, because we're going to be adding some more guests based on your guys' feedback. So if you have any special requests for guests, add them in before you go. Anyone you want to see interviewed, coming on the show and sharing their ideas with us and some of their expertise. Love your suggestions on that. And in the meantime, I hope you have a fabulous week. Bye, guys.